Hey, hi, hello. Welcome back to the Weekly Trump Day, where we go through this week's top stories regarding the Trump administration and the US government. I'm your host, Gerardo Sosa, and this week we've seen Russia's deadliest attack since last summer, Pope Francis's death, a kid with cancer being sent to Honduras, RFK creating a list for people with autism, and Barnard professors being asked if they are Jewish. To start off with the Pope, on Easter Monday we heard news of Pope Francis passing away at the age of 88, following a fight with pneumonia, which led to him falling into a coma right before he passed. His official cause of death, according to the Vatican, was a stroke and irreversible heart failure. His final wish being to be buried at the Basilica of St. Mary Major in Rome, making him the first pope to be married outside of the Vatican in over a century. For those of you that may not know much about him, Pope Francis was the first Latin American pope that was elected in 2013, after the previous pope, Benedict XVI, resigned. He defended immigrants and asked questions that the church had long avoided, like women, LGBTQ+ inclusion, and about the structure of power in the Vatican itself. He wasn't afraid to disagree with world leaders and embrace science, and even visited war zones. Just one day before he died, he was seen passing through St. Peter's Square even with his health so poor. So what happens now? As tradition follows, Pope Francis was buried 4 days after his death on April 26th. Now what comes is choosing the successor. The College of Cardinals, which includes 135 men under the age of 80, gather in the Sistine Chapel where they vote in secret until they reach a 2/3 vote of one among them. We know they've come to a decision when white smoke appears from the papal conclave. Until then, black means that they still haven't come to a decision. The main concern in the air is whether we'll get a new pope with the same ideology or a completely different one. The voting is currently set to start on May 7th. Now on to an update with Russia. Last Thursday, at least 12 people were dead and over 100 people were injured after Russia's deadliest attack on Ukraine since last summer. Russia attacked Ukraine's capital Kiev and several other cities with 70 missiles and 150 drones, including a ballistic missile allegedly made by North Korea, according to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, adding that it's extremely important for everyone to see and understand what's going on. President Trump reacted on social media telling Russian President Vladimir Putin to stop. When asked if he thought Putin would listen, he said yes. Behind the scenes, US officials were reportedly pressuring Zelensky to accept the peace deal, which would involve giving territory to Russia, and Trump accused Zelensky of dragging out this war. The Kremlin confirmed the attacks, and their spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said that the government is just following military orders, which, according to Moscow, is hitting military and near military targets. Now, on to one of the two lists that's currently going on. The National Institute of Health is launching a new initiative to gather private medical records from government and commercial sources to fuel new autism research, led by the Secretary of Human Services, RFK Jr. Dr. Hey Bhattacharya, the new NIH director, said this would be the first time they would have access to such comprehensive population-wide data. The idea being better insight onto diseases like autism. But people aren't happy with RFK Jr. calling autism a preventable disease and are even comparing and rounding up all the autistic people to Nazi Germany, which is an idea that's been going around since the start of the new presidency. Between 10 to 20 teams will be chosen to see the data to study autism from genetics, environment, and treatment strategies. RFK Jr. promising results by this September, but the NIH saying that probably won't happen. Now, on to Barnard College. Professors at Barnard College in New York City received a text from the government asking if they're Jewish, Israeli, from Jewish ancestry, or practice Judaism. The reasoning behind the text was an investigation into discrimination against Jewish faculty at the college. The forum didn't just ask about their identity, but asked if the professors had experienced any harassment from anti-Semitic jokes or protests that have happened on campus. One of the main areas of concern was that they were texted directly to their phones instead of using an email. There's mixed reactions to the text message, with one professor saying that they've seen this before, and it ends with it wearing yellow stars, referring to the Holocaust where Jewish people were made to have yellow stars on their shirts to identify that they were Jewish. Barnard admitted to giving the government their information, but reassured them that next time they would give them a heads up. Now, onto immigration. Last Friday, 2 US citizens, a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, were sent to Honduras with their mother, who was deported by ICE. The 4-year-old is currently undergoing treatment for a rare form of cancer, and he was sent to Honduras without any of his medicine. According to the National Immigration Project, the lawyers were preparing a legal challenge, but the kids were moved before they could file it. Their attorneys say that the mother and the father, a US resident, had no access to calls or legal contact, and ICE just moved them, which the lawyers say is not just illegal, but immoral and unconstitutional. Secretary of State Marco Rubio defended the deportation, saying that the mother was deported, and the kids are free to come back whenever they want. But the mother's lawyer said that she didn't really have a choice because she wasn't allowed to contact anybody, so ICE was the only one that spoke on her behalf. The 4-year-old is now in Honduras without access to his treatment, and the family's trying to figure out what to do. Now, an update with the China war. We've still been seeing some uncertainty with how things are going to go. Shipments from China are plummeting, US ports are slowing down, and retailers are starting to show worry. Retailers like Walmart and Target rushed to stock up before the tariffs hit, but that supply is expected to go away by summer. The Walmart CFO said that he didn't want to raise prices, but he probably will. Container bookings from China to the US are down 60%, and some freight companies are even canceling entire ship voyages because there's not enough to carry to make it worthwhile. This would normally be the time for stores to start preparing for back to school and holiday items, but no one's shipping anything. Ocean shipping prices have gone from $8,100 last year to $2,300 this year. Some small companies are even debating on shutting completely down depending on how long the tariffs last for. Now, on to Trump signing executive orders. Trump signed 7 executive orders last week on education. The first one is a crackdown on classroom discipline. Trump wants to bring common sense discipline back to classrooms with less focus on equity and more focus on teachers maintaining order. The second one was over AI in schools. There's a push to get kids trained on using AI early, with multiple initiatives coming to classrooms. The third one was to continue investing into historically black colleges and universities, calling them beacons of education excellence. The fourth one was over college accreditation. Trump wants more competition among accreditors with more focus on job outcomes and academic freedom with less focus on politics. The fifth one is over foreign funding, which requires colleges to disclose any significant funding, especially when it comes to research and student influence. The sixth one is rolling back our civil rights framework, which looks at outcomes, not just intent, when it comes to racial discrimination, for a more colorblind approach. The last one is over workforce and apprenticeships. The goal would be for a bigger push on hands-on career training apprenticeships, workforce development, and tech-ready skills, which make college not the only choice for students. Those are our updates for this past week, and I hope to see you in the next one.